All right, quick video on how to disassemble and clean the starter from a 986 Boxster. So I removed the starter from my car and it's still dragging. So the Bendix action, I can't pull it out with one hand, but it doesn't disengage fast enough and sometimes gets stuck with the engine as it starts, and the starter is overspun or spun over speed. So I'm going to try to disassemble that, clean the Bendix action pieces that make the starter protrude, put it all back together, and seems like people have had good luck with this rather than just replacing the starter. So I'm going to try this first. I'm going to start with removing the 3 posi drive, and you can see they have little dashes in between the lugs. So 3 posi drive number 2s that hold the solenoid on. And I believe at the back here that hold the starter motor itself together, there are 2, either 6 or 6.5 millimeter long bolts. So I'm going to start with the solenoid and then we'll get to those next. So I'm actually going to start by removing, I believe this is a battery positive cable from the solenoid to the starter. Just 1 13 millimeter should hold it on, and then that comes off. And then the 3 posi drive number 2s that hold the front of the solenoid on. I'm going to start with those 2. This is a 13. These are posi drive 2s, and then I'm going to take the solenoid off. All right, so try to get this 13 off, just like that. And then we have here, kind of a thin hex nut, and then a washer, and then the positive battery cable. And you might want to be gentle with this. I know this one is probably original. This cable's probably old, so try not to flex it too much. Then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to remove the 3 posi drives. I hit them with an impact driver to remove them. I've seen some videos where people have trouble with these, but it seems like mine, there's one. Seems like thankfully mine are not stuck and they're coming off pretty easily. There's number 2. These are long. Looks like they have a little thread locker up there. Long, partially threaded. All right, so I might put the camera down just because I see the solenoid starting to move, so I'm going to catch it when it comes loose. All right, so the solenoid is off. Inside there's a spring and then just the electromagnet going around that, so careful not to lose the spring when you take it off. Remember the orientation that it goes. It should go with the small signal wire on top and then the battery positive on the right side looking at the back of the starter. So I'm just going to put that aside. And then here is the plunger that the solenoid acts on. And you can see when I pull this plunger out, it activates the Bendix action. So we're going to take this apart and see if we can clean it up and put it back together. All right, so now I'm going to take the 2 7 millimeters, that's what these are, screws out of the back. So I'm just going to loosen these up, and then I might take the starter out of the vise here. I went ahead and soaked these in PB Blaster. The tops of them are up in here, up in the front of the starter. But you feel pretty good now. I don't want this to fall apart on me, so I'm going to put it on the workbench and further disassemble it from there. So the 2 long 7 millimeter bolts are out of the back of the starter. So we should be able to just split it open, yep, just like that. So we have the electric motor back here. Oh, there we go. So this is the electric motor. And then here is the whole Bendix action. So this is what we're going to need to clean up. So when you take apart the Bendix action of the starter, pay attention to how everything goes. So there are the 2 holes that the long bolts go through, and if you carefully just pull the Planetary out of the front housing like that, then you can remove this little block which locks the Bendix pivot in there. So you can go ahead and remove this block and pay attention to how it goes. And then from there, we should be able to release the whole action. I'll do that now. All right, so next I'm going to pull off a cap for the starter Planetary gear set. It's just held on by some tabs, and this is something that I'll probably want to clean. So there are the Planetaries. The starter motor sits in there and spins them, and then this is held solid, and it reduces the speed that the engine is actually spun at. Remove the 3 planet gears from the Planetary drive, and you can actually go ahead and remove the ring gear. It's just held in by these 3 rubber blocks, and one of mine is actually split, you can see here. So kind of starting a mental tally of things that might push me towards just a replacement instead of a rebuild, but we'll see. So there's the ring gear out. Put them in that tray. Try not to lose the rubber block either. At this point, these are basically hard. So, oh, and another one is broken. So I'm not sure about this. I might just replace, but we'll keep on disassembling just to show you. Well, I tried to get the, I guess the gun gear assembly is what they call it. This gear in here that both spins the starter and allows it to plunge out. I tried to remove that, but I believe there's a seal. If I pull this out, you can see this lip, and it butts up against a seal on the front of the nose. I believe that's stopping me, and I don't want to break the seal, so what I might do is I might just leave this part intact, try to put some grease on the gun gear in there, try to put some grease on the pivot, and then get everything else cleaning a little bit in some degreaser, and then re-grease it for reassembly. And then I'll also put some grease on the shaft here. And then I might try to reassemble it. I think the sticky part is coming from the solenoid not sliding nicely in its home there. So I'm going to clean those out, and then I'm going to test it before I put it back on the car. And if I'm satisfied, we'll put it back. If not, I might go for a new starter. Yeah, so I'm just going to use some degreaser on these. Probably let them soak for a bit. And on this guy too. And clean them off and then reassemble.